program? Will your party commit to this program and allocate the necessary resources? En français, quelle est la position de votre parti en ce qui concerne transforming Nova Scotia services to persons with disabilities? Le programme de services pour personnes avec des déficiences. Est-ce que votre parti s'engage au programme à contribuer les ressources nécessaires de ce programme? And we will start with candidate number 2. Polymid, thank you.
Oui. La réponse est oui. On a besoin de le faire. We have to do it. There's no doubt that we need to commit the resources, but it fits right into our platform. Our platform is Change That Works, and we definitely need to change the way we deliver these services. We do spend $1 billion in this province per year, and there's no way, there's absolutely a better way to spend that money and put the resources in the right places. So there's no doubt that we are fully committed to working with this document. I read the executive summary because I didn't read the whole document, but I read the executive summary, and I did meet with people in the industry, in the special needs in the Clare area to help me understand the document that was written, and it was consulted by all stakeholders, and it's very important that we adopt it. Il n'y a pas de doute que notre plateforme suit le change qui travaille. Il n'y a pas de doute qu'on dépense $1 billion dans le système de testeur, et puis c'est important que l'argent soit dépensé à les bonnes places. Puis il n'y a pas de doute qu'il faut prendre une nouvelle direction, de point mettre du monde dans des institutions, puis trouver des façons à qui pourront vivre, soit eux-mêmes, ou avec une aide d'aide, ou bien avec plus d'aide s'ils en ont besoin, ou s'ils en ont beaucoup d'aide, il y a des différents niveaux qu'il faut construire. So it's very important that we have, housing, and we have services available for people that need very little aid, and we have people that need, a small amount of aid, a lot of aid, or needs the full gamut of services. So it's very important that we all work together to ensure that this is done, and it will take time, there is no doubt, but we have to look at how we're spending our money and make sure that it's spent at the right place. Thank you.
Merci Polymid, and he basically translated in English what he said in French, so no need for my lovely French assistant to respond. But she would have anyway. Mr. Wilson, merci.
Thank you very much. I'll refer to this roadmap again. I'm just going to call it the roadmap, but it's the roadmap for transferring the Nova Scotia services to persons with disability programs. So the roadmap is a great start and a great piece of work. Unfortunately, it was started in March of this year, 3 years after Canada signed the UN Convention. If government had started consultations earlier, if we waited 3 years, the announcement held mere days before an election call, which outlined a roadmap, would have been better, showcasing at least a roadmap project instead of simply of announcing intent. It's very important, I think. As an example, if government had started to consult on the development of Modern Homes for Special Care Act 2 years ago, we would have had new legislation now. I'm proud of our Liberal history and the role of our party, the role our party played when it comes to flexible funding options and flexible choices. It was a Liberal government who introduced the pilot program for self-managed care for persons with disabilities close to 20 years ago. And it was the Liberal Party, under the leadership of our leader, Stephen McNeil, who worked hard when he was community services critic to ensure it became a province-wide program. Just for background information, recommendations of the roadmap: establish a single entry point for programs and services for people with disabilities, demonstration project to help families develop their own community-based housing solutions, working on new legislation to replace the outdated Homes for Special Cares Act, and furthermore, the recommendation of the Kendrick report sounded eerily similar to those found in the roadmap. Now, the Kendrick report recommendations said money to be redirected to more flexible supports for individuals, and users of service and their families should be able to govern local housing projects. A new Liberal government will work to ensure we begin a journey of improving for persons with disabilities using the roadmap as our guide. We won't do as a government is what this NDP government and the previous Conservative governments have done, which is to completely disregard the work that has been done and start all over.
Thank you. Candidate number 1.
Yes, the system is outdated and we are making changes. We have done that with community services itself, with the position for people with disabilities. We have brought the restoration approach tactics. There are over 2,000 employees with community services, and we are working hard to empower these changes to all levels to move the service delivery at the grassroots level towards individual needs rather than a system need. If we entertain a system need process, people fall through the cracks. The key is to change policy, because policy instructs our staff on what to do, and that is what we have to actually start with. We have changed several policies and we have several more to change. We have increased support in terms of respite care. We have increased support for individual families who look after their loved ones at home. But there's also more to do, and we want to be able to increase those levels. One of the challenges we have is to transform from what we have today to a better delivery service without making people suffer. One of the reasons why we have such a long wait list is because there was never any planning financially by previous governments to address the resource issues. But we are extremely excited that for the first time we have a plan. That plan was created by the disability community, their advocacy groups, and the people working in the Department of Community Services. All came together to set this plan. We've expanded our work beyond the Department of Community Services. Health and education departments are critical, and also including in putting people first to include people with disabilities. Absolutely, we will work with all communities to allocate necessary resources. We are the party who for the first time took the time to work with the community in Nova Scotia using the report that was submitted. We have not changed a thing in it. That shows our commitment towards the community to move forward with a better service. We have brought together the disability community, and we have worked with them, including Michael Kendrick, who wrote the report 10 years ago, but moving towards community options. For the first time, we have a pathway of transforming for persons with disabilities. We made a commitment to move towards individual funding, case-by-case needs. It's all about choices. People with disabilities have as much right as everybody else, and that is what we do not have because of the lack of planning in the past, so we have started to make it a priority. Thank you.
Merci, Dean. 3 bonnes réponses à la question, 3 excellent answers, and hopefully people in the audience here are able to understand a little bit more from each of the parties, those positions on services, support services. And I just would say, if you find that one of the candidates is saying something that you like, you're allowed to clap. You know, they like to hear it too. They're interested in hearing your feedback. So if you hear something you like, let them know, okay? Because obviously it's something I want to know too. If you like it, they like it, we all like it. So there you go. Next, we're going to talk about transportation. It's something that's dear and near to many people's hearts. And I'll ask Trudy to read the preamble, please. And we'll start with candidate number 3, Mr. Wilson.
Nova Scotia at 21% has the highest percentage of persons with disabilities in all of Canada. This translates to over 3,500 persons in Digby County. With seniors over 65 now comprising 30% of our rural population, this number is rising at an alarming rate. Note also that Digby County has almost 1,200 kilometers of roads. Access to transportation impacts on the wellness of the community by enabling residents to enjoy the benefits of social, educational, employment, and recreational opportunities, as well as access to medical services. Many citizens with disabilities live on low fixed incomes, and the demand for door-to-door transportation is ever increasing, along with the price of fuel. Community transit needs strong leadership, collaborative vision and support, and dedicated operational funds to become sustainable.
Thank you, Trudy. So, if elected, what concrete actions and financial commitments will your party deliver to make community-based rural transportation sustainable? En français, si élu, quelles actions concrètes et engagements financiers ferez-vous pour avoir un service de transport en commun viable? Gordon Wilson, please. Merci.
Thank you, Terry. I'd like to start off with saying that I'm very proud to live and possibly have the opportunity to serve in the Clare Digby riding, because that's where community-based transportation was born in Nova Scotia, thanks to a lot of good, hardworking people. In 1997, nearly 17 years ago, a volunteer group started what is a national model right here in Clare. In 2012, it expanded into all of Digby County. What started in Clare has also expanded into 14 other communities throughout Nova Scotia. I know you probably can't see that map there, but that is an example of the Rural Transportation Association membership organizations. Also, I'd like to point out that in 2011, that organization logged 1.4 million kilometers in rural transportation. It took $520,000 of provincial investments through grants and by partnership with municipalities, local businesses, healthcare groups, fundraising and fairs, and grew the provincial investment into $2.3 million. That's a pretty amazing feat by that group. And hey, we got our first applause. I'd like to point out, to answer the question, and again, I'm going to refer to this document. This is our platform, and I'm very proud of it. Our Liberal platform speaks clearly to a commitment to make community-based rural transportation sustainable by committing an additional $500,000 per year, every year, to community transportation assistance program budgets, firstly. Plus, this commitment almost doubles the existing budget in this program right now. In addition to that, I'd like to note that we're investing $1 million in public transit and community-based transit. Thank you.
Thank you, Gordon. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. We have known about Nova Scotia being the province of having the highest rate of persons with disabilities and the oldest population in Canada for years. And the other parties have also known this for years. The lack of planning and the lack of vision by previous governments have left us in the position that we are in. And in 4.5 short years, we have made inroads. With respect to transportation, we have created transportation working groups. There have been many sessions where communities have come together to provide their suggestions and their opinions with respect to transportation. We know that this is a key link for people in Nova Scotia. Digby County has transportation arrangements for people with disabilities, thanks to the great involvement and the successful planning of the founder, Clarendon Robichaud. We also have a regular schedule with King's Transit in parts of Digby County to facilitate transportation of the people who have more mobility. The community and our government to continue their participation in planning to improve their services. The NDP also provides Transport to Clare with approximately $36,000 annually in financial support for their operation. Community transportation is a high priority for the government. We know that it is something necessary for people with disabilities and seniors to have access to transportation. And rural Nova Scotia and in government is working very hard to provide opportunities and choices to the people. It's also an obstacle as far as special needs and employment opportunities. We have many people with special needs that have the will to work, but transportation is a challenge. We need to work closer with the communities and these work groups to iron this out and make things smoother. Thank you very much.
Merci, Dean. Bien dit. Thank you. Paul-Émile?
Dans notre plateforme, on supporte tous les modes de transportation dans notre province. In our platform, we support all modes of transportation, including community-based transportation. Il n'y a point de doute que le transport de Clare est un exemple, pas rien que national, mais international. Ça a été reconnu à des conférences internationales pour le beau travail qui a été fait. Puis il n'y a pas de doute que le travail à la pointe, ça n'a point rendu lorsqu'il est dit que ça va pointer les bénévoles sous la direction de M. Robichaud pour faire sûr que le transport a réussi lorsqu'il a ce. There's no doubt that community-based transportation, the transport of Clare, has had national recognition, but also international recognition, and Clarendon has had to present this model to conferences outside of Canada. So there's no doubt that it's very important that we support community-based transportation, but it has to be a collaborative approach between government, the groups affected, the users, and the community, and the private sector. Everybody has to be involved in the discussions of how to, we can't have 30 Clarendons across the province. So there are some that have duplicated, but it's very hard. So we have to make sure that it's enshrined in our transportation system, that the community-based model must be replicated across the province and help organizations, but they need money. So there's no doubt that all these stakeholders must be involved in developing the transportation strategy for community-based. Thank you.
Merci, Paul-Émile. Okay. Sure, give me a round of applause, people. That's beautiful. Okay, question number 4. In the 1970s and early 80s, Nova Scotia led all provinces in creating community. Okay. Sorry, Trudy.
My job. In the 1970s and early 80s, Nova Scotia led all provinces in creating community-based living supports. Now we have the highest percentage in Canada of people living in institutionalized care, often a great distance from their home community. Some individuals have been warehoused for years, while others languish on waiting lists, often suffering isolation and disconnection from the benefits of family and community life. Everyone deserves to have a say in where and how they live. Persons with disabilities are entitled to a safe home that is appropriate to their needs, with a variety of community-based services that support independent living and inclusion in their home communities. Many families struggle daily to provide care without adequate funding or supports. A wider range of housing options is clearly required. The nonprofit Conway Workshop Association in Digby administers 3 small option homes, a 4-bed group home, and several apartments in the town of Digby. The Canadian Association for Community Living, Clare Branch, administers Maison Geron, a 9-bed group home in Church Point. Both agencies also run day programs. In addition, about 28 people are accommodated at a private residential care facility and 2 small option homes. It's not written here, but with 3,500 people in Digby County living with disabilities, this number only adds up to about 60 people who are actually provided for in what would be considered appropriate housing. That's shocking. CORE, the Clare organization representing disabilities, they haven't completed it, that was my mistake. They are working on a feasibility study and business plan. They've completed their needs assessment. And they are seeking approval for a community home for 4 youths with disabilities. We hope that our new MLA will be proactive and give this proposal serious consideration.
Thank you, Trudy. If elected, will your party address the housing crisis and work towards ensuring that persons with disabilities have access to affordable and accessible housing in their home communities, and the necessary disability supports will be made available regardless of their choice of housing? And I'll just add one comment on there. In your communities, especially in Clare with the cultural and language differences that we need to ensure maintain. En français, si élu, est-ce que votre parti va adresser la crise sur le logement et assurer que les personnes avec des déficiences puissent avoir accès dans leur propre communauté et que les ressources humaines seront disponibles, quel que soit le choix du logement? We'll start off with Dean Kenley. Dean?
Housing has been an issue in Nova Scotia for a very, very long time. And once again, it is an NDP government that has created the first housing strategy in our province's history. In that housing strategy, there are 4 different pillars. 2 of those pillars focus on persons with disabilities. This is like a puzzle. You did not move just one piece at a time, but several pieces all together. So our housing strategy includes people with disability. It also improves the disability framework strategy in our province. They all connect together. So the housing strategy is focusing on persons with disabilities, on how the houses are constructed, what kind of community options need to be available, because the infrastructure is not there, a result of long-term neglect. The NDP has been very supportive of LARSH, building concept that have been developed. This initiative was started with the previous PC government, and the NDP made the funding available to construct these facilities in Antigonish, Halifax, and the Annapolis Valley. One component is also focusing on seniors, as they are also experienced disabilities. For senior housing, we are developing a concept where seniors can stay at the home as long as they can. We invested $22 million in home care to assist people, and we know that much more needs to be done. But we had to focus being more financially responsible to permit us to move forward with our programs. Our improved credit rating for the province resulted in us having to pay less interest on our debt. And some of the money being saved will go back into programs which include housing for the disabled and housing in Nova Scotia. We are looking at investing with people in mixed communities based on revenues. This will also include grant programs to help people stay longer in their homes. Thank you very much.
Merci, Dean. Paul-Émile?
Il n'y a pas de doute qu'on supporte tous les aspects et toutes les options qui se mettent dans le rapport. There's no doubt that we fully support all options and aspects on housing. There's no doubt that if there's a community-led and stakeholder-led initiative, those are the most important initiatives that government should listen to. And the fact that the communities are getting together now, and Clare is an example of the report they're working on right now, to look at a different option than what we've done in the past. Governments need to listen to that, because that's where you're going to get your grassroots and your best ideas from. You know, we can read all the reports we want, and we can look at all everything that's happened in our history, and we'll probably just repeat it if we keep reading these reports. But if we actually ask stakeholders what they want and look at those options, you know, then government will listen, you know, to what they have to say. So that is my commitment and our party's commitment. We do want to look at housing options. The housing options that the Clare Group is looking at is very innovative. They're trying to look at a new way of providing independent living. And there's no doubt that as stakeholders, as government, we have to listen, but all levels have to be involved. There's no doubt that we do want to extend the caregiver allowance, because we want to keep people in their homes. Another thing we want to do is home care, has to be extended. We have to find savings in our healthcare system in order to ensure that we have an ample amount of home care workers available so that people can stay in their homes. C'est très important de garder le monde dans leur maison le plus loin possible qu'ils pourront avoir. So c'est important d'avoir home care disponible à plus de gens pour faire sûr que plus de monde reste dans leur maison. So there's no doubt that we need to work collaboratively with this, and we fully support this. Thank you.
Merci, Paul-Emile, and what he said in French is basically what he said in English. Gordon?
Thank you. I'd like to start with saying that the aim is to have a choice in what is best for the person. A person should always feel that when they go to bed, they're at home. That's key. I firmly believe that by committing to the roadmap, I keep mentioning this roadmap, that we will provide a wider choice of housing options. Now, the roadmap refers to the money following the person. This means the Nova Scotia Wheelchair Program, Le Transport Declare, home care, either self-managed or not, and any other technical aids should follow the person. It's an important part of this roadmap. These are but a few of the examples of what is logical to follow the person. Putting people first also mirrors our platform of putting Nova Scotians first, coincidentally. In the last 4 years, $22 million was spent in Pictou Institution for Mental Disabilities. Another $9 million in the last 4 years by this current government was spent modernizing the Cobequid Center. This was opposed by the Nova Scotia Associations of Community Living, by the way. We feel it would have been far better if that $35 million was spent on community housing. To answer the question, yes, the Liberal Party fully supports the recommendation of the roadmap in moving forward with community-based housing.
Merci, Gordon. Okay, we're coming up to our fifth question before we go into a bit of a break. So with that, I'll pass it over to Trudy and the preamble.
This is the employment social enterprise issue. Communities have to find effective ways to ensure that persons with disabilities can participate in and contribute to society in all aspects of life, including employment. Employment provides a sense of purpose, pride, and accomplishment. It becomes part of a person's identity. It provides opportunity to take part in the community and develop meaningful relationships. Benefits to communities include increased social capital and potential economic development spin-offs. Employment support services and skills development are essential to advance the employment opportunities for persons with disabilities.
Merci, Trudy. What is your party's position with respect to the employment of persons with disabilities? Would your party support a social marketing campaign that promotes employment of persons with disabilities? Quelle est votre position en ce qui concerne les emplois pour les personnes avec des déficiences? Est-ce que votre parti supporte une campagne qui fait la promotion d'emplois pour personnes avec des déficiences? And we will start off with Paul-Emile. Paul-Emile?
Il n'y a pas de doute que supporter cette initiative et notre parti supporte ça. Mais on va vous parler net des histoires pour social enterprise. Tu as besoin de financement souvent pour des programmes que tu peux pas trouver ailleurs. You need financing sometimes for projects when it comes to social enterprise. Back, the previous BC government did enact a new loan guarantee program through the credit union system, and since then, with Nova Scotia Co-op Council and the Nova Scotia credit union system, we lobbied government, and I will give credit to the NDP. They did expand the program to include farming, and now they've included social enterprise. So now there is a guarantee program for local groups to access that do have community-based projects for social enterprise. So there's no doubt that access to financing is very important for some of these projects. Il y a point d'autre que le social media va jouer un gros rôle dans ce qu'on va faire dans les next quelques années pour développer des systèmes d'emploi et puis des systèmes pour des entreprises sociales. So we definitely need to support social media and its efforts to make sure that that number one, that the issue is known, so that people do know, that there are employment opportunities, but at the same time, with internet and with proper programming and programs, for computers, there is definitely access to jobs that we did not have access before. So it's important that we work with, again, in collaboration with all groups to ensure that we do have access to these programs, we have access to financing, and that we also promote the ability to have jobs, available in our community. But again, it has to be a partnership with the stakeholders, the people affected, with the government, but also with the private sector.
Merci Paul-Emile. Gordon?
Employment of persons with disabilities, accessibility. The answer is fairly simple. One of the key areas that requires addressing in order to ensure persons with disabilities take the rightful place in our labor market is accessibility. If you can't get into your place of work, if your place of work doesn't provide an opportunity for people to get through the door, how are people with disabilities going to work? It's simple. And our Liberal platform speaks to its importance by committing to legislation. That's where it happens. That's where it starts. I'd like to note that from March 31st, 2010 to March 31st, 2012, there were 33 fewer people with disabilities working within the public service here in Nova Scotia. We're seeing that opportunity get down. Almost 10% reduction. Under the current government, we see fewer people with disabilities employed within the public civil service. There has been some great work done with the Nova Scotia Persons with Disabilities Employability Table. Established by Employment Nova Scotia, this table takes an active and guiding role in building an integrated labor market strategy for Nova Scotians with disabilities. Liberals need to continue to work with the table members to ensure we do a better job on employer engagement as well as education and awareness activities. Yes, a Liberal Party would support a social marketing campaign that promotes employment of persons with disabilities. This NDP government has wasted far too much on advertising and social marketing campaigns on self-promotion of its NDP platform and itself. It's time to start funding campaigns that will benefit our economy, but more importantly, ensure persons with disabilities take their rightful place in the economy of our province. Thank you.
Merci Gordon.
We have a GROW program on social enterprise that we have been expanding. It is very vital that we do invest in social enterprise for people with disabilities so they can have an opportunity to be contributors to the workforce. One of the areas we have been addressing in community services is we have been investing in terms of procurement through the Department of Community Services, and we would like to model that through the province. That means that we want to be able to set up a system with social enterprise that if there are items or services that are required by the Department of Community Services or any government department, the opportunity to do the work can be given to community enterprise. Once again, it is the NDP government who is taking an initiative and developing the framework in order to implement these programs. We already have some in the province. The Conway Workshop is a great example of employment and social enterprise initiatives for persons with disability. Myself and my company in Digby over the years have employed several people with disabilities, and we work very, very closely with the Conway Workshop. It's been an honor and a pleasure to work with some of these people, and it's an eye-opener. They take such pride in what they do for your company, and they're so cordial and polite to everybody that they deal with. It's a real special treat for the other workers and employees to see how passionate these people are and care about the duties that you give them. They put so much effort into everything they do, and they're very, very particular about how they do it. We had one individual that worked with us for over 2 or 3 years, and he was so proud to show people the results of what he did. And he did such a great job. In year 2, we started to work with a second individual, and it just so happened that the second individual that we worked with was his brother. And it was so interesting and so rewarding to watch him train his brother and teach him and talk to him, and his brother looking at his younger brother looking at him with such respect that he was teaching him how to do the job that he was doing so well. And it was an honor for us to watch that. They worked with us for quite a few years before they moved on. But over the years, we've worked with at least 4 other individuals, and it's always been an honor and a privilege to work with these people. And we hope to continue the relationship we have with the Conway Workshop, because our company really enjoys this relationship. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bruce. Well, ladies and gentlemen, your 3 candidates here. Let's give a big round of applause for beaucoup de travail avant pour préparer les réponses, et on travaille étroitement avec les parties. We work pretty close with each party to make sure that they were educated by giving the material ahead of time so they could prepare themselves. So, vous avez vu qu'ils ont bien fait au sujet des personnes avec des déficiences. Because of the fact that we had the 4th candidate drop out and we are a little ahead of time, we're going to take a 10-minute break for the candidates here so they can consult with their campaign. At the same time, we're going to be back. For those who want to go to the washroom, you're going to have to make it quick. The washrooms are up here on the left, so please go. Candidates, you'll have 12 or 10 minutes, and I'll call you back, and then we'll go over the next second part of the forum. Merci beaucoup. Thank you.
Ah, mon pas trop fort à le faire, je serais qu'arrivé.
Vous allez le faire. Moi, je suis l'autre, là, faire. Moi,